Let's talk about more women breaking records. Let's talk about the WNBA. 8772 Radio U, where ESPN has just announced that this season was the most watched WNBA regular season of all time.
Wow.
Which surpasses last season, which had just set the record as well. They say at ESPN last year, over 24 games, they averaged 1.2 million viewers in those 24 games. This year, in 25 regular season games on ESPN, they averaged 1.3 million viewers per game. And you think about that, that is with Caitlin Clark only playing for the Fever in 13 games total. So even without Caitlin Clark actually being able to participate in much of the season, the views are still there. People are still tuning into the WNBA regardless of if Caitlin Clark is there or not.
Yeah, which is a good sign, but I would be interested to see what those numbers were at the beginning of the season when there was so much hype around, the return of the WNBA, the return of Caitlin Clark, and then she becomes injured, and slowly I felt like I was seeing a lot less news coverage and a lot less on my feed because I'm not a person that probably would watch the WNBA. I don't. I'll just admit that. I don't watch the WNBA. I don't have a team. There is supposed to be a team returning to Cleveland soon, so I'm hoping to, watch them when they do come back. But, yeah, I haven't been watching them. But I've seen a lot in my feed, especially at the beginning of the season with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and all of that stuff that was going on. But as soon as Caitlin Clark was injured and out pretty much for the rest of the season, I didn't see really anything after that.
Yeah, I think Angel Reese was big in the news, and they do say that Angel Reese was in the most watched game of the season. But I don't know if you can even blame, the viewership is, let's be honest, it's going to go down because it's still not the same kind of draw when we start to have a million other things going on. Even if it's not Caitlin Clark, during a lot of the summer, there's not a lot of other sports to grab your attention.
Right.
And so you're going to watch Angel Reese or Nafisha Collier or Paige Beckers or whoever is on. But once we start to get college football and the NFL and other stuff, then I don't care if Caitlin Clark's playing. I mean, the ratings would be higher than if she's not.
Yeah.
But it's still not going to be able to compete when you have a bajillion other things grasping for your attention.
Yeah, 100%. That is something that's still working against the WNBA. But you love to see growth like this. I think they said it's a 6% increase. And so if they can continue to grow that at a 6% rate or even double that, let's say 12% next year, that's huge for them. So, and I think with the expansion of adding more teams, hopefully that brings in even more fans. Again, me, who's usually I tie to myself to the Cleveland teams. If a Cleveland team comes along and, I'll be starting to keep tabs on them and maybe eventually watch them, I think that will draw even more fans in.
Yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, you just think if they're setting records when Caitlin Clark's only playing in 13 games, think about next year if she comes back and she's healthy the whole time.
That'd be so good.
And the Fever, competing for a championship, and maybe the Sky aren't garbage and Angel Reese is doing all right. Who knows the numbers?